Greetings all. Wonderfully sunny morning here in drought-stricken Hawaii. I have to wear my glasses or I'll be blind today. There's not a cloud in the sky. Well, yesterday I produced one of the few videos that I've been doing for a while. Mostly focused on what AI is doing to the human. Okay. How this invention is affecting us physically, mentally, maybe spiritually. Yeah, those of you who missed that one, you might want to step back one video just for a ground floor. I'm going to try to explain what I mean here, but welcome to the first ground floor episode of Grumpy Gardener's show on natural stupidity. Yes, now, in short, just to kind of briefly explain for those who missed yesterday's video, natural stupidity would basically be the organic opposite of artificial intelligence. That's me. Yes. I consider myself to be naturally stupid. We'll get into that a little bit more, but I am certainly not artificial, and as far as intelligence goes, is questionable. Much of the time it is. I know. I live in the head. I know myself. It's questionable. Yeah. Human brain wiring, no, this is science, all right, but human brain wiring is neuroplastic. That means that it adapts and changes to almost any given situation. And the brain is designed to feed it information, to feed it stuff, okay? And the brain gets real happy when you give it stuff to work on, okay? And everything you think, everything you do, it all creates brain wiring in the neural net. Your reality is a product of all your thoughts and actions. Every thought you have creates another strand, and it becomes memory, and we oftentimes work from memory. As far as my vision is concerned, and it's true for all people, 80% of what I'm seeing out there, I'm not seeing it. It's in my memory. Yeah, it's illusionary. I've memorized a landscape. I may be right, I may be wrong, I don't know. But much of what we experience is totally wrapped in the neural net. There is no world to say out there, not at least in the way I see the world. Yeah, I have an interpretation of it. That's all there is. So, with that in mind, I mean, there's studies done that show if you learn to play a piano, on a CAT scan, that lights up so many areas of the brain. The brain loves to learn. That's what it does, okay? Well, I think that artificial intelligence is pirating. Yes, our abilities of our organic brain to be able to do the tasks that a human has been able to do for millennia. Yeah, things that made us human, things that made us real, okay? That artificial intelligence is slowly supplanting them. It's our fault. No, it's not like this thing's creeping in and going, hey, we're going to get them buzz. No, we've done this to ourselves. We're allowing it to happen, and a lot of us are inviting it. Okay, we really think it's cool. A lot of us do. I don't, obviously. Think it's very cool. Now, I'm not an anti-technology character, really. What I am here, I think, is understanding why we use things, how we use things, and what they mean to us. What is the social implication? What is the psychological implication of the things that we do? Well, I have spent a lifetime personally kind of picking and choosing, so I'm sort of used to that. I don't always pick up everything that everybody else seems to pick up. I kind of just stand back and look at it most of the time. But this artificial intelligence thing has really started to scare me because I'm seeing extraordinary changes in the human brain itself and the way we think because of what's happening. Now, a lot of you go, oh no, Bill, you're just, Chicken Little, the sky's falling, Well, of course, Elon Musk even wrote a few books about the sky's falling because AI. Yeah, people who are on top of this thing, intelligence guys who have actually generally built it, they're scared of it. They know. But most of the rest of us, I mean, I've had people come, oh man, now I can finally write a story. Well, anyway, to make a point here, there was a time in between generation of baby boomers and the generation X, whatever, I want to divide these things up. Anyway, there was a point right in there somewhere that Texas Instruments developed a pocket calculator. Prior to that, oh yeah, it was funky old adding machines, and most of us never touched them. Okay, we did all of our math in our heads, or with a pencil, or on a chalkboard. Okay, yeah, math was a organic mental function. Well, once Texas Instruments come up with that beast, and they started copying it across Asia and making it like, cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. They were ubiquitous and everywhere. Well, all right, made life easier, right? I mean, even I use them when I'm calculating square footage in a landscape for, cubic volume on a cinders or something. I use a calculator. But I also use my brain, which does math, to check what I did with the calculator to see if it's real. Okay, because you make mistakes. Well, so those of you who are definitely a deep part of the baby boomer generation, all of you had to learn your math in your heads. Yeah, all of you did. We all learned how to at least do basic mathematics, adding, subtraction, multiplication. You all remember going through them multiplication tables? Man, I hated them things. Oh, good grief, I hated those things. But yeah, in school, we all trained our heads to work as calculators. Well, brain loves to work. It loves math. Once it gets past the hurdle of having to learn it, because that's sweat, it loves it. It's like I said, it's just like playing a piano. First it's pretty darn hard, ain't it? But eventually you get good at it. Next thing you know, you're playing Debussy, and you're doing Mozart and rock and roll, Professor Longhair, hey? Yeah, whatever it is. But and the brain's lighting up, and you're feeling a physical reaction to this, okay? So, then you all probably do remember this day. There was a day that you went to the store, and you walked up to the cash register, and you set down 4 items on the counter, and because you had been trained in learning to use math in your head, you probably already knew what that was worth. And you probably even knew the sales tax, okay? And you did that mentally. But you'd walk to the cash register, you put the items down, and the kid at the register types in some numbers. You hand him a $20 bill, but he input the change as a 10. You've been here, yeah? And then they hand you back short $10, because you gave him a 20. And then we say, oh, hey, this is wrong, guy. You're off by $10. And they, oh, no, here, look. And they'll turn the cash register, tell you to look at the cash register. I don't care what your cash register says. You input garbage. It's garbage in, garbage out. Doesn't your head tell you that I gave you a $20 bill? And that the bill was for $6.64. And before I walked through this register, I knew that you had to give me $3.36 change out of a 10, but I gave you a 20, so it had to be $13.36. But the kid's like, huh? And trying to figure out how to make the computer do yeah, they had to bring a manager out once early on. I think a lot of these people who don't work with math in their heads, what I'm seeing now is that they're keeping a calculator on the side just in case they screw up so they can redo it with another machine. Okay, because they can't get it to work in their head. Now, well, some of you who didn't have to go through the trouble of learning how to do mathematics in your head and programming, brain wiring that does it for you, like a pocket calculator does. Yeah, those of you who didn't have to go through with that, well, you probably look at this and go, oh man, why does that guy want people to go through so much work, well, there's a good reason. It's a good reason. Every thought, everything you do, everything you learn, it creates reality. It is your brain. Your brain is built by your activities. It's that simple. When it comes to math, well, in short, simple. I think the best answer I ever had from anybody. A good buddy, Bob. Yeah, Bob and I, well, we love guitars. We love to play music. Yeah, Bob and I love drinking beer, and we also love to fish. And so, now, I was more of a farmer and a mechanic, and Bob was a college-level mathematics instructor. Very different people, but we had mutual things. We both loved canoes. We liked the river. And so, and he's a great guy. Yeah, well, I never really did like math much. I wasn't very good at it. It was hard for me to learn it. Yeah, it was trouble. I made through it. Yeah, I'm okay with it now. I can't do math on quantum physics, but I can do carpentry to build your house for you. Yeah. Well, I came to Bob and I said, Bob, math been hard for me. I never really loved it that much, although I know it's important. It's the basis of science. But you've made a life out of it. I said, I find that peculiar. You and I, we get along real well together. We understand a lot of the same things. But that's one thing about you I don't get. Why did you like math so much that you went in and made a life out of it? He looked at me, so, Bill, that's simple. Huh? Yeah. He says, in real life, everything's chaos. Yeah. Everything's chaos. You never know what's going to happen. It's not always predictable. I mean, wild card flies in and the whole thing, and everything goes haywire. But he says, in math, everything always has an answer. It has to balance. Math is the only place in my life, speaking for Bob, that everything makes sense. He says most other things don't. Yeah, he says, I don't understand how my wife's thinking. All right, I have a hard time even thinking like my dog half the time. But when it comes to math, for Bob it was like church. Yeah, he'd take it there and he had all his answers in a way. He knew they were just math, but it gave him stability. Well, I'll agree that having math as a part of the mental function, just a basic thing, just like, you're hearing, you're seeing, the math is running in your brain and so on. You're measuring up the wall. Yeah, the wall's 8 feet, blah, blah. It gives you structure to the world. It gives you a point of anchor for your brain onto reality. Math will describe anything and everything, but one thing that it's real good at is being able to describe all the things that you can't see, touch, feel, or smell. Yeah, the stuff you can't get to with your senses ordinarily. You can talk about it with mathematics. You can even, talk about infinity. You got a 0 in math. Sometimes I score a 0, but yeah, math adds structure to a person's world. And when the brain operates on it, everything becomes much clearer and you are far more grounded into life. I look out there at the field and I'm going to spread compost and cinders. Well, with a pencil, I could sit down and I could tell you just how many inches, how much cubic yard, etc., is going to spread out over those areas. I am very comfortable with that. I also understand why a 350 Chevy engine has 350 cubic inches inside of it. Yeah, it's that volume of the piston capacity. Well, that makes a lot of difference in my world. The guys used to work with me when I was doing landscaping. They used to say, Bill, you calculate that stuff down to the last grain of sand. How do you do that? Well, they weren't real good math heads. The younger people, totally calculator brains, didn't have it and didn't view the world in a mathematical sense, which I wouldn't say, I'm complete science either, but I do see the math and things here, and I understand how valuable that is, and I know that it creates stability and structure in a world for a human brain to anchor itself around. Well, as I'm saying, everything you do creates your reality. Your mental wiring is the product of what you're doing with your life. If your life is spent, engaging with the AI in front of some video game on a screen, shooting down, planes or something, well, I mean, the U.S. Army or the Air Force may have a use for you one of these days, with these, as a drone pilot. There may be an application, but that's kind of sad. On the other hand, a whole lot of the rest of us prior to AI had learned to do almost all of this in an organic and analog form. And we made errors. That's right. We made errors. But a smart person who was an observant, well, they'd try again. We have a different possible approach. Try a different possible solution to this problem. Why don't you keep tossing them at it? If you're creative and you have enough native intellect to be able to be creative, eventually you're going to land on one. You think they're all smart to begin with. That smart is ego. All right, it's smart. It's nothing to do with actual intelligence. Sometimes it's an approach to how natively intelligent you might be. Many of us have more capacity than others do. That's for sure. And so those of us who have a lot of native capacity can seem like we're smart, but the smart's an ego. What we're dealing with here is that when you throw these ideas out against the wall, and one of them sticks, but the rest fall off the wall. If two fell off and one stayed, that's wisdom. Yeah, that those two answers are probably not the right ones. The third one is closer to the truth because it seems to be working. But again, it's hypothetical. You know that. Because you might throw a fourth one that works even better, right? And this is where taking these jobs and giving them away to machinery instead of allowing the human being to do them and make the mistakes that we have always had and be naturally stupid. Okay? Yeah. Natural stupidity is what brings on organic intelligence. The two are tied together. And the organic develops wisdom that's personal. It's personal. It may not be the same for everybody. Solutions can be unique. They can be. We're all a little bit different. My solutions are not everybody else's, obviously. So this is what scares me more than anything. I mean, we all know the invasion of privacy is ridiculous. Yeah, anybody out there who thinks with AI that you have any privacy anymore, I shake my head at my partner who's just signing in some kind of machinery here, technology, and they're asking for a birthday, and she refuses to give it. That's personal information, she says. And I'm looking at her going, I could get your birthday off the web. Anybody can. What are you talking about? There is no such thing as personal information anymore. Some things are a little harder to get. You don't want your social security number out there in the wrong place, But, yeah, it's like that. You got to get comfortable with the fact that your reality is smeared all over the internet because of AI. It's totally interconnected. You don't have privacy, and in fact, your smartphone's listening to every word you say. If you use spell check, it is reading every word you say, okay? There's nothing that you have that's private anymore if you're engaging in any way whatsoever with this sort of technology. Now, people call me a hypocrite. They say, Bill, you're on the internet. This is social media. Yeah. Well, what do you want me to do? I bought a megaphone the other day off Amazon, right? Because I just I felt I needed to holler. Anybody else feel like you do that? Go get a megaphone. Yeah, I bought myself a megaphone, and I stand it on the front porch, and I said, I'm going to exercise my freedom of speech. And I got down and I yelled in the neighborhood that Donnie the Orange Dork is a jerk. Well, the neighbors know I'm crazy, and they're the only ones that heard me, so it didn't matter. The internet's the only way out of here for me if I'm to try to express some of the viewpoints I have that may be controversial. I don't know how else to do it. There was a time when I wrote, but that's over. Yeah, this is the way to do it. Even though it's like if the AI was a horse, I'm galloping on it at a full charge with a flaming sword and cutting the horse's head off. Yeah, right. So much luck that I could do such a thing. But I mean, there's the analogy. Yeah. And here's Gracie. It's my kitty cat. All right, folks. Well, only other thing I got to say about any of this is that this is not about gardening, right? I'm the grumpy gardener, and this is not at all about gardening, although everything is interbeing, man. It's all connected, but I'm having a problem with gardening. That's why I've kind of changed the programming a bit. My carrots, they're orange. Every time I pull one out of the ground, all I can think of is Donnie the Dumb, the orange agent of chaos. Yeah, I refuse to eat them. It's going to be my fault if I get a vitamin A deficiency. But they're orange. And all things orange have become suspect. I'm beginning to think that my tangerines are considering taking away the Medicare that I paid for my entire life and used for my health. Yeah. Because they're orange and I don't trust them. Aloha. Y'all hang loose.